Welcome to Imperfect Momming. Our children are constantly looking to us for examples. The term role model doesn't quite cut it here. We are shaping their worldview with every move we make. You see, it's not in the lectures we give or moments where we are actively attempting to teach them. It's in the micro movements we make, the unconscious ways in which we navigate life. We are constantly teaching our children how to show up for themselves, their friends, their future partners, and even their future children. So, what can we do to ensure we are raising thoughtful, compassionate, self-aware human beings? We have to become them ourselves. No one is perfect, but we can still all be better, and it starts with self-healing. Let's get to it. Welcome back to our support call meeting lesson, whatever it is that we call it.
Parent support call.
There we go. Parent support call.
I think that's where we landed.
And this is our lesson for today. So,
and then for those of you that are here live with us, welcome. And we will go into our private Zoom room in about 15 minutes after the lesson so that we can all support each other and chat.
Yes. So we were talking about something today. We were going to talk about meditation, right?
Yeah, well, we were talking, so Alysia and I were reflecting on our call from last week and really reflecting yesterday on the power of the pause and what do we do inside of the pause. And so I don't know if you want to just unpack that a little bit, Alysia, and what happens and why journaling is so so we were looking at different things. What can we do to get ourselves into a more reflective state and move from a state of where our amygdala basically hijacks the frontal lobe, and the frontal lobe is, not to get too brainy in this, but the frontal lobe, when our frontal lobes are online, which don't develop in our kids, by the way, until boys are around 28 and girls are 24. So wonderful news for us parents, right? But our frontal lobes hopefully have come online. Some of our programming needs to be shifted. But I would say, and the thing is, the key is how do we stay in a place where that fight, flight, freeze response, which is, triggered in the back of our heads when something happens and causes us to get into that state, to really get into the frontal lobe where we can be, rational and logical and come from that thinking part of the brain. And so one of the things we were talking about is, what are different methods that we can use to get there? And so things we were talking about have been, obviously exercise or rest or eating healthy or meditation and I just shouldn't say or, I should say and, right? And yoga and journaling. And so one of the things that you and I were talking about yesterday was why journaling is so powerful. What makes journaling so powerful? I think a lot of people are reluctant because they don't really know what that is. And so I think that was the tool that we wanted to really chat about today. Yeah.
Yeah. So this came up for me because if you've been to any of our workshops, you've heard us talk about, the red and the blue zone and the green zone, which is kind of what Melanie was describing, was when your prefrontal cortex is online, then you're in the green zone. And when it's offline, you're in either the red or the blue. So layman's terms of this also is we call it triggered. And so when we get triggered, we go into fight or flight, some of us, and some of us go into freeze, and different situations will create different reactions. And I was triggered last week, and I called a friend of mine for support, and she walked me through some of her content in what why journaling is so powerful. Because we are at any given time in 3 different stages. And so we're either in lack, we're neutral, or we're in creativity. And when we're in lack, we're in that activated stage. We're fearful, and that's where I was. I was in this lack stage. And it's not easy to just go from lack to creativity. And we kind of want to be in neutral or creativity. And one of the reasons that journaling is so powerful is because we physically cannot write as fast as our thoughts are going. So if you've ever noticed and paid attention to your thoughts, they're going a mile a minute. You know, they're really racing, and you have this thought that leads to this thought that leads to this thought that leads to, you know, more and more. And each thought is getting when you're in this triggered state, usually each thought is getting worse and worse, and you're getting, you know, more into fear and or lack. And so when you sit down and start writing, not only does like it slows your brain down enough because you have to it has to slow down for the writing, but you're also shifting into creativity because writing is a creative process. And not typing, specifically pen to paper. And I'm going to add pen to tablet because I have a writing tablet that I love, that I've searched for forever. But you know, these are the things that that are this is why, like, this is the science really behind why journaling is so powerful, because you are getting the thoughts out of your head and onto paper, and you are slowing down your brain enough to shift into another mode.
Yeah, and I would say even, you know, taking it even a little bit further is that I've noticed when I've written, I know a lot of parents that have been in my courses, or that I've coached have, not a lot, but a few have been reluctant or not comfortable with journaling or writing. And so there's even a judgment around that. So even just to start with, you know, just being willing to put pen to paper, and even if it's literally just to start by writing, I don't know what to write. This is stupid. I don't want to write. What is even the point? Like, it doesn't even matter what we're putting down on the page, because even that comes with judgment. Like, there's a right way to do this or a wrong way to do this. It's not. It's literally just having the ink come out of our pen so that it's coming from our hand, because our hand isn't only connected to our head. Our hand is also connected to our heart and our soul. And so what ends up happening, and what I can speak about for me, what's ended up happening for me is when I've just started to write, even to that point, maybe getting, I mean, there's prompts that we can use if we're, you know, wanting to use a prompt, or I'm so mad because, or I'm so sad because, or I'm really happy. And, you know, whatever it is that we want to start with, it doesn't matter. But if we start to write, oftentimes that what will happen is the head dump. So whatever is in our head will first spill out onto the page. It's like, because you're talking about what our thoughts are. But then actually what ends up happening is we start tapping into what's underneath the thought, and which is the feeling, right? Or maybe it's not underneath necessarily, but it's coexisting with. And so we can actually get into we can get more in touch with our feelings. And so it's a way to, you know, become present in a way that is productive for our beingness. If that is helpful, I think it for many, many people, getting to that place and state is really, really, really powerful.
I think that the some of the basis of what you and I do is, getting parents back to focusing on what it is that we can control. And the things that there's exactly one thing that we can control, and that's ourselves. And you can't really control something when you don't understand it. And so that's something that journaling can really help to. And I will be the first to raise my hand, both hands, that like I did not enjoy journaling in any way, shape, or form. And there's like a legit and sometimes unrealistic fear that someone will read what you end up writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that I was not the only one that had this fear, but I learned that they're like literally when I say irrational, I met a woman who lived alone and with her cats. Literally no one could read her writing, and she still had a fear that someone would find her thoughts. And it especially in the technological world that we're in nowadays, like if you have something that's digital, you can lock people out of that. But it's like, what is it that, like, I could ask myself, what is it that I was afraid of people reading? You know, I wouldn't write down thoughts that I didn't want anybody else to know. And so then it just turned into I didn't want to write down anything at all. Um, and that was led to some serious disconnection for me from me. And something that I started doing was getting oracle cards and pulling an oracle card and looking at this card and being like, oh, well, this makes me think of this, and start writing down that. And so that made it kind of fun for me and a little more creative in my definition of creativity. And it made it more enjoyable. And so I've been doing that fairly consistently, at least all year.
Yeah, I love that. And, it's interesting, Alysia, listening to you, because I know that you're a writer and you write in magazines and you've written books and you've been a contributing author in books, and you consider yourself and what's the word I'm looking for? Like, you put out that you're an author. And so it's interesting hearing you say, like, I wasn't comfortable journaling, right? Because it's not about the writing, it's really about what's being exposed on the page. And so if that irrational fear comes up, I'm wondering if, as you were talking and I was listening to you, I was thinking, what if we wrote to and then like made a decision that as soon as we were done writing, we were going to tear it up or burn it or throw it away, or if that irrational fear, I don't want to say irrational because maybe it is rational, maybe somebody does live somewhere. And I mean, I remember actually, I don't know why this memory is coming to me, but I remember writing a letter to my ex-boyfriend, and his mother went into his room and read the letter, and he felt so violated. Like, it was in his room, in his drawer. I don't even remember what the letter was, what I wrote, and I'm sure it was lovely. But the issue is that he felt violated. His privacy got invaded. And so it could be a very rational fear that
Yeah.
somebody has. They've heard that story, or they've heard. So, if that is something that's a block. And if not, maybe you have a lock and key that you could buy a box to put the journal in, and you can, hide the key or save the key or put the key. So there are ways around it, but I think the key, no pun was intended here, but the key is just to, if that's, it is a tool that can be, it's certainly not the only tool, but it is a tool, and the one we're focusing on today, that can be used, which is one that I love. And then one other thing that you said that also got activated in me when you said it was just the fact that you phoned a friend. So I'm just like putting that, just the fact that you phoned a friend and that you let those thoughts and feelings out. Like you didn't put it onto a page, but it was, I know who you called. So it was someone who was qualified to be a listener. And when I say qualified to be a listener, it wasn't someone that was just going to like, fuel the flame of what it was you were feeling, but someone who could actually help you navigate through what it was that had triggered you. And on that note, talking about talking, I think this is the end of today's live lesson, and we can hop into the support room. So I know that there were people in the waiting room. Hopefully that you guys are here live with us now. And then we will, Alysia, can you put that link in the waiting room and then we can go into the support room?
Yep, it's in the chat.
Excellent, excellent. And then just to let everybody know that is in the LA area, if you want to save the date on this topic of communication, in 2 weeks, I will be doing a live workshop on enhancing co-parents and couples communication in LA at St. Martin of Tours in Brentwood on February the 14th. What better day to get some communication tools in the toolbox? At 9 a.m. and it'll go for an hour and a half. So if everyone or anyone who wants to come, it is free to the community. That would be awesome to have you. And in 3 weeks, we start our 5-week course again, where we will do a deep dive into this topic, understanding what's going on in the brains of ourselves, our kids, and many, many, many other things. So if anyone wants to join for that, so if you can put those flyers into the Facebook group too, Alysia, that would be awesome.
All right, so we will be back again next week, and until we meet again, keep healing.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Imperfect Momming. It's time for us to step up and realize that our power is not in trying to shape our children. Our power lies in shaping ourselves into the people we want our children to model themselves after. Don't just do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. When you become a more self-aware, compassionate, and confident person, you and everyone around you benefit. For more information about me and my work, visit AlysiaLyons.com. That's AlysiaLyons.com. See you next time.